Good morning, guys. Am I audible to all of you?
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir.
Okay. Okay. So basically today we are going to complete our generic collections, and in the next 2 days, right? By the end of this week, we are going to complete our collection framework, right? Basically after this, one thing is going to remaining, that is concurrent collection. So we will discuss that in 2 or 3 classes, right? So mostly by the end of this week, we are going to complete collection framework. So today, basically, we are going to discuss three things. So first, we will discuss what is linked list. Then we will discuss one of the important interview question. That is, in the interviewer might be asking what is the difference between loop, for each loop and a for loop, that we will discuss, and then we will discuss one conversion. Right, conversion in the sense, suppose you have a dictionary and you want sometimes it's required to convert that dictionary to an array, convert that dictionary to a list, or suppose you are having one list and you want to convert that list to a dictionary, or that list to an array. Suppose you are having one dictionary, how you will convert that dictionary to an array, or how you will convert that dictionary to a list. That is the things that is remaining, and that is what we are going to discuss today, right? So basically, three concepts we are going to discuss now. Let us start. What is linked list? See, if simply I ask this question to you guys, then what will be your answer? Because this is not new. We have already learned this thing in our academics, right? You might have a data structure topic, right? Topic in the sense subject, and in data structure and algorithm, this is one of the important concept, right? So that is what we are going to discuss today. Anybody having any idea what is a linked list? Any question, any answer, any suggestions from anyone? Looking at this diagram, can anybody tell me what is linked list?
I would say two lists that have nothing to do with each other joined together. That's the point.
Exactly. So basically, linked list is a linear data structure which is going to store the data in a non-contiguous manner, right? So in what we have discussed so far, array, right? So while we are going to store the data, right, the data might be going to stored in like an array. In if you are having a collection, that collection data might be going to stored in a contiguous manner, or it can be stored in a non-contiguous manner, right? And if it is storing in a non-contiguous manner, then that means it is following the linked list data structure, right? In a linked list, what will happen? Now, in linked list, the elements, right, the data in the linked list are linked with each other using a pointer or reference, or you can say a link, right? So, in other word, you can say that linked list consists of a nodes where each node contains a data field and a reference, right? That reference is going to link to the next node, right? So, each node having two parts. One is data, another one is address. Data means where you can store the actual data. Address means it will store the reference address of the next node so that it can point to the next node, right? So you can say a linked list consists of nodes where each node contains a data field and reference to the next node, right? This is one linked list, right? Linked list collection. See, this is one node where we are storing the data A. This is another node where we are storing the data B. This is another node where we are storing the data C. And this is another node where we are storing the data D. In this case, this is the node and it is having two pieces of information. One is data where the actual data stored, and the next one is nothing but your address or your reference, your pointer. What exactly it is going to store? It is going to store the reference address of this node, right? So every wherever you data store, right, that are having some address, right, that base address is going to be stored by this node. Similarly, this second node, right, where we store B, it will, the second part, that is this one, will store the reference address of the next node, if any, right? In this case, this second part, that is this address part, will store the reference address of this node. But in this case, as there is no next node, right? In that case, the address will be null, so that it will not point to anything. So in this case, it is going to store the data, right? The first node, what you have created, this you can consider as the head node, right? But the thing is that this is a single linked list, right? Single list means there is only one pointer. But the thing that you need to remember is there are a different kind of a node, linked list, single linked list, double linked list, circular linked list, right? So the linked list class, what we are going to learn or what is provided by the .NET framework, right, is a double linked list, like double-ended linked list, and it used to store a collection of same types of value, right? As it's a generic collection. Generic collection means what? Now, while creating the linked list, you have to specify the type, and that type of data you are going to store inside the collection. As it is a double linked list, each node points forward to the next node and backward to the previous node, right? A double linked list contains an extra pointer, typically called the previous pointer. In this case, it's a single linked list, right? Each node contains a single pointer, and that pointer will point to the next node. But in the case of a double linked list, along with the single pointer, right? Along with the single pointer, or you can say along with the next pointer, it is also having the previous pointer, which is going to point to the previous node, right? You can see this one. So in this case, this is your data node, right? Data A is stored here, B is stored here, C is stored here, D is stored. But you can check it is having two pointer, right? This pointer is pointing to the next node base address, and this first pointer it is pointing to the previous node base address, right? So in this case, you can see for this where you store data A, this node doesn't have any previous node. So in that case, the previous pointer is going to store the value null, and the for this node A, the next pointer is going to store the base address of B. Similarly, for this B node, it is the next pointer or the next pointer is pointing to the next node, and the previous pointer is pointing to the base address of previous node. And in this case, the previous node is A and the next node is C. In this way, it is going to store the data, right? And in this case, it is having two nodes, right? And in this case, you can see this node doesn't have any next node, so the next pointer is going to hold the value null. And as it's a generic collection, as soon as you added the nodes or into the collection, the size of the collection is going to be automatically increased. Now we'll going further and we will see how to create a linked list, how to add elements to the linked list, how to access elements from the linked list, and what are the different operations that we can perform in the linked list. I mean what? How to create a linked list, how to add a linked list after another node, how to add a linked list after before another node, how to add a node at the starting first point position, how to add a node at the last position, right? All these things we are going to discuss now. First of all, how to create a linked list, right? So you have to use this syntax, right? First of all, this linked list of T collection class belongs to system.collections.generic namespace. So you have to bring that namespace first. Once you bring the namespace, then you have to create the linked list by using the constructor, which doesn't take any parameter, right? And you can see how to add elements means you can see there are many methods. Add after, right? While add after, you can see this is the node and this is the new node. And here you are providing T values, right? You can pass a linked list node or you can pass a T value. Both are going to add the node, right? After this node. So like add after, add before means what? Now, before a node, you want to add a node, and you can add a node by specifying a new node or directly by specifying the value. And if you are specifying the value behind the scene, he is going to create the node, right? Add first, it will add the node at the first position, right? Add first a T value. So I will show you both the approaches, right? How to use this linked list node and how to use this T value, right? Even though you are using linked list node, you need to specify the type here, right? And add last. So you can add a node after another node, before another node, at the first position, at the last position. These are the four options available, and each option having two overloaded version. One is taking the new node, right? New linked list node. Another one is taking the direct the value. Both the options I'm going to show you, right? For example, if you want to create a linked list, then to store some countries, right? And country is a string type value, so you can create a linked list of string, and then you can call the add last method. So in this case, it will add the element at the end of the other elements, right? Up India first, then USA, then Sri Lanka, right? As linked list class does not have any add method. See, these are not the add method. These are add after add after add, before add, first, at last, and at last. Not the add method which other collection classes accept as a method, right? So this linked list collection class doesn't have any add method which take the parameter t. So you cannot use that collection initializer syntax to create and initialize a linked list, right? So you cannot use here the collection initializer syntax, right? Then how to access? Simply you can use a Foreach loop and you can access the element, right? And in this case, I'm using var and var item and the linked list type. What type of data it stored? It stored string type of data. By default, this item variable type is going to be var. And guys, remember, this linked list class does not have any indexer. As it doesn't have any indexer, so you cannot use a for loop to access the element of the collection, right? So you cannot access the element of the collection by using a for loop, as it doesn't have any indexer. And as it is does not have any indexer, then also you cannot access the element by using the index position, right? So you can see this is the linked list, right? And if you go to the definition, then you will see there are three overloaded version. You have to use this one, right? And you can see there are many methods, right? Add after, add before, add first, add after, add before, add first. Each are having two overloaded version. One is taking t value. First one is the linked list node, then another is t value, right? Like this. And add last, if you see one of the overloaded version taking the t value as a parameter, another overloaded version taking linked list node as a parameter, right? So let me show you one more thing. Right? See, in this case, add last method, what I'm using, it is taking t value as a parameter, and what its definition says, right? It says that adds a new node containing the specified value at the end of the linked list. Add a new node containing the specified value at the end of the linked list. So wherever the linked list end, right? After the last node, it will add a new node with the specified value, right? Coming to the other example where we are using this add last dot uk node. So in this case, you can see it is taking a linked list, right? And you can see add the specified new node, right? Here, add a new node containing the specified value. And in this case, it will add the specified new node at the end of the linked list. So here it is also adding a new node which contains the specified value. Here it is going to directly add that node, and already in that node we are specifying the value, right? So in this case, you can see I'm using the add last method and I'm showing you both the options, right? Directly you can specify the value. By default, it is going to create and add the node at the end of the linked list. Even though you can create a new linked list node and you can add, and that also going to add at the end of the linked list. So in this case, now you can create the element. Now, if you are trying to use the collection initializer syntax, let me try to use some collection initializer syntax, right? Then immediately I'm getting one error, and it clearly saying me that this class list, a linked list of string does not contain a definition for add, right? As this class doesn't have the add method, so you cannot access the elements, right? So you cannot create and declare and initialize the linked list connection using collection initializer. Further, if you go to the definition, then you will find that there is no indexers, right? In this definition, you will find that there is no indexer. And as there is no indexer, right? So you cannot access the element by using a for loop. So only option is for each loop, right? And you can see for each loop and I'm accessing the element. Other options are there, right? How to remove, how to find the element, right? All these things we are going to discuss, but the only options, right, how you can access the element is by using the for each loop. Right now let me run the application. See, linked list element and India, USA, Sri Lanka, UK, and Japan. So these elements are showing in the UI. So this is how you can create a linked list and how you can access the linked list. Let me copy paste this code, replace this code, because here I'm using other overloaded version which is taking linked list as a parameter. Linked list node as a parameter, right? So this is now there are you can see now, as always we discussed, right, creating the linked list is fine, but after some time you want to remove some element which is not possible in the array right now, but it is possible in linked list or in generic collection, that once you create the element array, right, once you create the collection, in middle, right, middle of the collection you can also remove some item, right? Then what are the options available to remove item? Let us see, right? You can see one of the remove overloaded version taking linked list node as a parameter, right? And that node is going to be deleted. And in this case, the remove method taking the uh, element data, I mean the value as a parameter, and the first occurrence of that value is going to be deleted, right? Remove first means it will remove the first element. First node you can also consider. This method is going to remove the last node at the of the generic collection, right? And this clear method is basically going to remove the all elements from the all nodes from the linked list, right?
Excuse me, there are a couple of guys in the group that they say that they cannot join, but I don't know if I can give them the password or I don't know them.
The pin thing is to his friends thing. They have to press the pin message twice to get to this yeah, pin it to his friends the new web thing.
Why they are unable to join? Because
No, no. I joined. I joined. Earlier, it was the November 1st Zoom link. It was pinned, and I went back and take the link of the
okay,
old
okay.
Zoom, and
So
it was.
who I don't know who pinned this batch. Who pinned this one?
I
November
don't
1.
know.
Who
I
is
don't know because
this is the
yeah,
wrong
I
link.
noticed it. I noticed it when I was trying to join. I clicked on it and it went to that right. I was like, "What the heck is
Okay,
this?"
guys, this is wrong. This is wrong. I don't know who pinged this one, but this is not the link, right? This is the link for the evening batch which I have started. Okay, so guys, can anyone please ping the actual link, because this is not the actual link.
I pinged it. I pinged the actual link in the below.
No, you ping the, yeah. Let me mark this as pin this one, right? So don't do this thing, right? Don't put wrong information on the group, because whatever, I don't know who pinged this one, but this is the wrong link, right? Okay, fine. See, so in this case, you can see we are having many different options to remove the element, right? And guys, if you remember, if you go to the definition, this add last method or this add last method, right? In this case, you can see whenever you are using add last method, you are specifying the node, right? And whenever you are using the add last method by specifying the value, what is the return type of this method? Linked list node, right?
Linked list
Node. What it means? It means it will return a node containing the specified value, where the value is added, at what node, at what position that node is created, and where this value is added, that node it is going to return, right? In this case, add last method. But in this case, add last method doesn't return anything. Why? Because you are only specifying and you are only creating the node now. So okay, let me give you a better clarity, right? See, in this case, what I'm writing Bihar, India, no, right? That is fine. In this case, I can write a linked list node, right? I can write USA, right? I can write like this, right? Why? Because the return type of this method is going to be linked list of a T. And what is T? T is nothing but your string. So in this case, you can see if I move my mouse pointer over this India node, it is saying the type. What is the type? Type is a linked list node of a string. So instead of var, in the next line, I'm specifying linked list node of string. So this method will return the node where this element is added, right? But coming to this add last method, right? You cannot store that, you cannot use this var, and you cannot store in some variable, right? Some SB, right? You cannot do this. Why? Because in this case, it is not going to return me the linked list node. Why? Because you are already creating the node now. Here you are already creating the node, and that node you are passing. Then why is going to return again the same thing? Already you have the thing now. But this linked list node, here we are not passing the linked list node. Here we are passing the value directly, so that after adding the value, it is returning me where the linked list node is available, or in which linked list node that value is stored. But in this case, you are directly creating, so you are seeing, you will see that this add last method, right, which is taking the linked list node, is going to return void, and the add last method, which is not taking this linked list node, rather which is taking the string value directly, right, that is going to return linked list node. Right now, if you go see, not only for this add last method, see add after, where it is taking the value directly, it is returning the linked list node, right? Where it is taking the linked list node directly, it is returning void. Similarly, you can see add last, this is the add last method, right, taking the node, so returning void, right? This add last method taking the value, so it is returning the linked list node, right? Clear? Right? So in this case, you can see I'm creating a linked list node, right? I'm adding the, so here you can see I'm creating a linked list node, and I'm adding that element into this India, right? Here USA node, I'm adding that, here UK node, and I'm adding, right? And even though in this case, what I'm trying to make you sure that I'm not going to add the element like this, I'm going to add like this, and here, right? Clear? So I'm using the add last method by creating the bypassing the linked list node. So this is the add method, USA method, and this is UK node, right? Clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
So in this case, I'm using the add last method. So in this case, I'm using the USA, and in this case, I'm using the UK. So this is going to be USA node, right? Add last. So anything you can also write like this. This is going to be your Sri Lanka node. If you want, you can store. If you are not storing, then it is also fine. UK node, and this is going to be no need to store. You can directly create like this also,
So
right?
one question, please.
Yeah.
So when you first create the linked list and the first statement, right? Then you add India, right? Then you add India. So India is not pointing to any node because it's the first one, right?
So in this
So
case, this is going to be the first node.
the first node, and it doesn't have an address for any node because there is no more nodes, right?
Yes.
So that address would be null, or what would it be?
Sorry. In this case, in this case, for this particular element, right? For this particular element, right? So the three things you need to remember. One is previous, right? One is data, which is going to be India in this case, and one is next. So in this case, next will be null, and in this case, previous will be null, right? And when you add this element, right? When you add this element, so in this case, what will happen, right? Previous will be India node, data will be Japan, and the next will be null. And once you add this element, that previously what element you have added, right? That next will be replaced with Japan. Understand?
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yeah, and when you add the next again, so in this case, the previous will be Japan, right? Data will be USA, and the next node will be null, and the previous statement next null, what is null, that will be replaced with USA, right? So this is the thing which is going to happen, right? So in this case, first of all, I'm printing the initial document, initial elements, right? Here I'm showing you some of the elements added using add method, right? All the elements are added using add method, but after adding the element, so I'm storing that node where that element is added, right? Then this is my for loop, for each loop, which is going to print all the elements, right? And then here I'm using USN, right? Suppose you want to remove the first element, then you can specify the USA India node, right? Here you can write where India node, right? You can specify this thing where India node, or other option is the linked list dot first. You can also specify, right? If you go to the property, right, you can see linked list node of T first, right? So what is the first node that is going to be written by this first property, and what is the last node that is going to be written by the last property, right? If you want to remove the first node, you can remove the first node by using this first. Other option is also there, right? What is the other option? If you want to remove the first node, you can also remove by using this option, remove Indian node, right? This option is also available. And if you want to remove the last node, then this option is also available, India list dot last. And if you know exactly what is the last node in this collection, right, you can also directly pass you can node to this collection, this remove method, that is also going to work, right? But if you want to remove specific node, right, if that is not your first node or that is not your last node, right, then in that case you can pass the specific node, right? In this case, you can see, I know when I'm calling this add list method by passing the UK value, it is going to return me the node where this element is stored, and that node value I'm storing in this UK node variable. So sorry, UK node variable or USA node variable, whichever element you want to store, right? That node you have to pass here, and it will remove that specific element, right? So after removing the USA node, I'm printing the element so that you will see apart from a USA, all other elements is going to be there, right? So you can remove the element by using this node, or you can also specify the value that is what you want to remove. I want to remove the value UK from this collection. UK node I want to remove, so you can directly pass the UK. The first occurrence of that value will be removed from the collection, right? For example, I'm having this UK two times, right? I'm having this UK two times, right? So in this case, you can see the first occurrence of UK will be removed. The second will be there as it is, right? And you have to understand this one, right? Remove first, right? So it is going to remove the first node. Even though you can use this remove method by specifying the first property, or you can use the remove first method to remove the first node. You can use the remove last method to remove the last node, right? So even though you can also use these things to remove the first, right? This is also possible, right? Remove you can also remove the last element by using remove last method, or you can use the remove method and you have to specify the last node like this, right? And this clear method you already know. Once you call this clear method, then all the elements are going to be deleted, right? So now let me run the application and show you the output. See, initially we are having India, Japan, USA, UK, Sri Lanka. I have removed the USA node, so you can see the output India, Japan, UK, Sri Lanka, and UK. Is there any element Japan? Yes. Then I'm removing UK. See, once I'm removing UK, you can see UK. One UK is removed, but another UK is still there, right? This first occurrence of a UK, which is there after Japan, that UK is removed, but other UK, which is the last node in our collection, is still there. Remove first, which element is first? India, that is going to be deleted. Remove last, which element is the last one? UK is the last one, that element is going to be deleted, right? Linked list count after clear method, it is going to be 0. Any question from anyone? Guys, let me copy this thing to here.
So one question. Is this linked list advanced version of list or dictionary, or
No, it is not the advanced version of a list or a dictionary. So see, whenever you are storing the data, right, how you are going to store the data. So this is just a data storage mechanism, right? So this, if you have some experience in your data structure, right? If you learn data structure in your academics, do you have any subject data structure in your academics?
no?
No, I don't think so. Data structure is one of the mandatory things for any kind of academics, whether it is BTech, PE, right? Data structure and algorithm should be there, right?
No, actually, I am from electronics background, so
No,
I don't.
even though for electronics background, some of the concepts are mandatory, right? And the data structure is one of them. Even though if you do not know data structure, I would suggest you to learn data structure, right? Data structure will give you more clarity, right? What is array, what is tree, what is graph, what is linked list, what are the different types of a linked list, everything, right? Data structure is one of the mandatory things as a developer. If you want to understand what is exactly happening, how the data is actually storing, right? Then in that case, you have to learn data structure and algorithm. If you do not have experience of a data structure and algorithms, then you will not understand these things, right? Because the linked list, it is not new. It is already, you should know these things from your academics, like from your data structure and algorithm. Any other guys who have not learned data structure and algorithms?
Yes, sir.
You are also from other background?
Yes, sir.
Which background?
Electrical.
Electrical. Okay. Okay. But see, guys, data structure and algorithm is one of the most important things. I would suggest each and everyone to learn data structure and algorithms. Right? Why I'm saying it is very very important, because if you are going for any top company interview, right? Top company in the sense, if you are going preparing for the interview for month, like Microsoft, Amazon, right? Like Google, Facebook, right? then then data structure, and then you will definitely face 60 to 70% questions from data structure and algorithms only, because they are not going to explain you what is OOPS concept, all these things. They will ask you question from data structure and algorithms, right? What is this program? Can you write the program? Can you find the time complexity? Can you find the space complexity, right? They will give you some program. They will ask you to solve the program. What is backtracking? What is recursion, right? All these things are only coming from the data structure and algorithms. And coming to your question, this is not the advanced version of your linked list and all these things. So this is basically how the data is going to be stored, right? So whatever uh, you have, so you have to understand. So I would suggest, please try to learn some data structure and algorithms,
Sure.
right? So because see, which is very very important, and data structure and algorithms is a must. Anyone attend any top company interview, like Microsoft, Google, like Facebook, Amazon? Anyone attend any interviews?
I have attended Microsoft interviews, but it was specific to my domain. Like, they have not asked such questions.
Okay, okay. So domain specific, that is fine. But if you are attending as a fresher, right, or if you are attending as a developer, then mostly you will be prepared for this data structure and algorithms, right? So this is one of the important topic and one of the important concept that you should know. Okay, so this is how you can remove elements. So data linked list means how you are going to store the data, right? Mostly you will not find anyone using this linked list in your application, right? They are going to be used to other generic classes like list, like a dictionary, but you will never find this one. This is basically, I'm just explaining these things as it is available, but for in-depth analysis, right? Because see, here what I'm showing, the list is a doubly linked list, right? Whatever I'm going to explain you is a doubly linked list, right? Apart from double linked list, right, other things are also available, right? Represents a doubly linked list, right? So apart from this, what is single linked list, right? What is circular linked list? Everything you have to understand, right? So I might be have written some content for this. So just go and check this course, list linked list data structure, right? And it is not possible for me to explain this thing here, because data structure is a huge concept as itself, right? Whatever you are learning in C sharp, data structure will take more time than C sharp. So you just go and check the data structure. This course is not completed, but what, yes, somehow you will understand data structure and algorithms. So go to this link, go to data structure and algorithm, and try to understand that linked list, array, right? Recursion. These are the some of the things you should know. Right now the next topic what we are going to discuss is uh, uh, how to check whether an element available in the collection or not. Already we have discussed this concept. What is that a that contents method is available, and to that contents method we need to pass the value. That is what you want to check, right? So if you go to this method, right, somewhere you will find that contents method. Yeah, somewhere you will find that contents method which is taking t value parameter, right? And to this contents method, you need to pass the value, not the node. You have to pass the value. And if that value is available, then it is going to return you true. And if the value is not available, then it is going to return you false. So in this case, you can see to this contents method, I'm passing India and India value is available. So it is going to return you true. Bangladesh, it is not available. So it is going to return me false. So in this case, you can see it is going to return me true, and in this case it is going to return me false, true and false. So that is fine. Now we need to understand few example in the sense how to add a node at the first position, how to add a node at the last position, how to add a node before a existing node, how to add a node after one existing node, right? These are the some operations, that is what we are going to discuss. Let us understand how you can add. So add a node at the first position in a linked list, right? We have already discussed there is a method add first, right? So that add first method will be used to add the node at the first position. In this case, I'm using add last method. I'm adding 3 elements. So this will be the currently this will be the first element. This will be going to be the second element, and this will be going to be the third element. So, but now I want to add, see, in this case, there is no indexer. Indexer is not there. You cannot use the index position to add the element. But I want to add, I want to add a new element, and that element should become the first element. Is that possible? Yes, that is possible. How? You have to use the add first method, right? You have to use the add first method, and using this add first method, you have to pass the parameter, right? And that parameter is going to be added at the first position of your collection, right? And even though you are using add first method, the other option is also there, right? If you go to the definition of this add first method, you will see there are two overloaded options. One is taking t value, another one is taking t list of node, right? So what I can make sure, so instead of this, I can write like this. Okay. This is also going to be do the same task, right? So you can write like this, or you can write like this, no issues. Going to be perform the same. So here we are using the overloaded version, which is taking string parameter, and here we are using the overloaded version, which is taking list node of the parameter, right? So now you will see that, and while you are running this for loop, you will see India is the first element. And while you are running the second for loop, right, second time for loop, and before that you are calling this add first method, so now the UK element will become the first node, right? Let me run the application and show you the output. See, UK becomes the first element. Clear? Right, guys, clear, or still any having any question? Hello, guys, am I audible?
No, sir.
Sir, clear, sir.
Okay, it's not that difficult, right? Now, suppose you are adding this element, and you want to add the element at the last, and no need to explain which method you have to use, add last. And to this add last, you can pass the element directly, or you can create a linked list node and you can pass that node. And the add last method means the element is going to be add at the last position, right? So in this case, you can see the new element which is UK we are adding, it will be added at the last position, right? That is what we have already using, right? Now important question, how to add a node after a given node, right? You are having a given node, and after that node you have to add the new node, right? We know which method we are going to use, add after, right? So in this case, you can see this is my linked list node, and we have already seen the add last method is going to return the node, right? Linked list node where this element is added. So, and in this case, if you want, you can store that. If you do not want, then don't store that. So in this case, if you want to store India node, right, you can store like this, no issue. I don't want to store the output, that is fine. Storing the output of a method is optional. It is not mandatory. If you want, you can store. If you do not want, then don't store it. But right, that is the optional thing. And in this case, I'm storing the output what this method is returning in a variable called India node. And for this method, I'm storing the output in a variable called USA node. And in this case, I'm not interested to store the output, so I'm not storing. That is fine. It is not mandatory. Storing the output of a method is optional, right? In this case, you can see. In this case, you can see I'm looping through the collection, right? And now I want to use the adapter method, right? After the UK node, right? After the UK node, I want to add an element, right? After the USA node, right? USA node is there. After this USA node and before this Sri Lanka, right? After this USA node, I want to add this element UK. So again, you are having two options, right? Go to this method, right? You can say add after method, one method taking the second parameter as a t-value. First parameter is going to be linked list node. The second parameter is t-value, and another add after method taking the second parameter as the new node, what is you want to add, right? So in this case, what I'm trying to do is, this is one option, and I'm going to show you the other option also. Let me give this name as you can node, right? New, right? UK. Then, right? So I'm going to use this as the UK node. I'm commenting this one, right? So any option you can use. So in this case, what I'm using, so if you want, you can pass the string value directly, and if you want, you can create the node and you can pass the node. So whichever option you like, you can go, right? In this case, in a single statement, I am able to do my task. So I always prefer to use this mechanism, but this mechanism is also working fine. So behind the scene, this thing is going to be happen behind the scene. It will create a linked list node, right? And it will add that node, and in, right, if you are using this option. And in this case, I'm using directly that. So this is the reason why this is one method and this is another overloaded version. So now if you run the application, this you can note what you have created, that will be added after the USA node, right? See, UK is added after the USA node, right? Similarly, if you want to add this element before the USA node, then what you need to do? You have to use the add before method, right? Now, what will happen? Now, this UK node will be added before the USA node. Let me run the application. So UK is added before the USA node. You can see, yeah, right? So you are having this method, or you are having these mechanisms that you can use to add elements, right? Now I'm going to show you one example how to use this with collection complex type, right? The same example I'm going to take here. I'm creating one class having three properties, ID, name, and branch. Then I'm creating a few student object, right? I'm creating the collection framework, right? Then I'm adding the elements, and then I'm looping through the elements and printing the data, right? And whatever operations we have discussed so far, right? All operations you can easily perform, right? So in this case, you'll get the output like this, right? Other things, right? Remove method, contents method, add last, add first, add before, right? Add after. Everything you can also perform using the complex data type, right? Any question from anyone? This is not that important, right? You will never use this thing in your project, but you should know, right? There is something called linked list collection, right? Link, you can also, if required, you can use. Clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, the next thing what we are going to discuss is what is that? For each loop, right? So if you remember, while I have discussed the looping constant, right? At that time, I have only show you that example of a for each loop, but I have not explained what exactly for each loop is. But when we start collection framework, in each and every collection, right? I am showing you the use of for each loop, right? So what is this for each loop? What is this in keyword? How this for each loop is going to be work? What is the difference between a for loop and a for each loop? That is what we are going to discuss. Like first of all, looping. What is looping? Looping means you want to execute some statement multiple times based on a condition, right? As long as the condition satisfy, let us execute the loop body, and once the condition failed, let us terminate the loop. So this is nothing but loop, right? The for each loop is a different kind of loop, right? It is so whatever you learn using a for loop, while loop, there you will have some condition, there you will have some initialization condition, there will have some condition, there is something called increment and decrement characteristics, right? Those things are available in other loops, but for each loop is a different kind of loop. And in for each loop, we do not have any initialization parameter, you do not have any termination, and you do not have any increment and decrement characteristics. If you look at this example, I might initialize any variable with 0 or something like this. I might specify any condition which will decide whether the loop is going to be, when the loop is going to be terminated. Is there anything I have created to increment or decrement the counter variable or loop variable? No, nothing is there. That means it's a different kind of loop, right? Where we do not require any initialization, we do not require any termination condition, we do not require any initial increment and decrement characteristics, right? Anyone asking anything? Anyone saying anything? Okay, right? So this thing is not available with a for each loop, right? The for each loop is used to iterate over the element of a collection. What is the use of for each loop? Now it will iterate over the element of a collection. Iterate means it will it will execute the loop as long as the number of elements is there, right? It will execute the loop that many times, right? Here the collection may be an array or a list or a dictionary, etc. Right? As per the name for each, right? It executes the loop body for each element present in the array or collection. Why we are giving the name as for each? It means it will execute the loop body for each element that is present in the array or collection. If the array having 10 elements, if the collection having 10 elements, then it will execute for each element, it will execute the body once. 10 elements, it will execute the body 10 times, right? 20 elements, it will execute the body 20 times. That means for each element, it will execute the body, right? That is the why it is the name is given as for each, right? In C sharp, the for each loop iterates collections such as array list, hash table, dictionary, right? So basically, simple said, you can see if your class implements enumerable interface, then you can use for each loop, right? So currently we are working with the linked list. If you go to the linked list, then you will see that it is implementing enumerable of T or enumerable, right? Now, if you go to list, right? Suppose I'm creating list of string, right? If you go to the list class, then you will see that it must be implement enumerable, right? If you go to the array class, right? Or if you go to the dictionary class, let me go to the dictionary class, right? If you go to the dictionary class, then it should implement enumerable, right? It is implementing enumerable, right? Okay, let me go to the array list. Array list, it is present in a different namespace. Let's bring that namespace. What is the namespace? System dot collections. System dot collections, right? If you go to the array list class, then you will also see that it is implementing the IEnumerable. So the point that you need to remember is, if your class implements the IEnumerable interface, then you can use this for each loop, right? So how it is going to be used, right? For is your a data type and variable name in collection variable. So whatever the collection, what type of data that collection holding, you have to specify that as the data type. Then you have to use the variable name, and then you have to use in, and then you have to specify the collection, right? And then the statement is going to be executed, right? So it is necessary to enclose the statement for each loop body in curly braces, open and curly braces. Here, instead of declaring and initializing a loop counter variable, we need to declare a variable as the same type as the collection type or array type. Whatever the collection type or array type, you have to declare the variable of same type, right? But in the case of a for loop, what is the loop variable? It is always going to be integer index, right? Integer variable. But in this case, if the loop is string type, you have to declare a variable of string. If the loop is integer type, sorry, if the collection is integer type, you have to declare the variable as integer. If the collection is employee type, then you have to declare the variable as employee type, right? Right. So then here we are using a specific keyword called in. So what is the use of this in keyword, right? So what exactly this in keyword will do is it will iterate the loop for each element that is available inside the collection, and each time the loop iterate, it will take the value and store inside this variable name variable, right? This is the job of in keyword. So in keyword will iterate the loop. How many times the loop is going to be iterate, that will be decided by this in keyword. How he will decide? Now he will take the value. Give me 1 minute, guys. Right. So each time the loop iterate, so he will check how many elements are there. 5 elements. So let me run this loop 5 times. Each time the loop execute, it will take the value from this collection and it will store that value inside this variable. And once it store the value, then you can use that variable within the loop body. Second time the same process. Third time the same process. Fourth time the same process. Fifth time the same process. And he already know what is the number of elements stored inside this variable. Yeah, I execute the loop for that many times. Now let's terminate the loop. So based on the number of values, right? Based on the how many values are there inside this collection variable, that many times the loop is going to be execute, right? Uh, if you see the flowchart, it is something like this. Your loop execution start. Elements in collection, yes, collection elements is available. Then execute the loop body and check. If all the elements are processed in the collection, right? Currently no elements is there, then just to terminate the loop. So if the collection having 5 elements, then this condition will be true 5 times, right? It will process each time again, and when the collection becomes null, right, when it process all the elements, right, then it will terminate the loop, right? So this is how it is going to be execute, right? Let me show you one example we have already discussed. This is one dimensional array which is having few elements, right? And by using this array for each loop, we can access the element, right? So this is the simple for each loop we have already, and we have already discussed this for each loop many times, right? No need to explain what is happening. So you can see all the element it processed one by one. And once it process the element, whatever operation you want, you can do here. I'm simply printing the value, right? Now, if you want to implement the same thing using for loop, then this is the equivalent for loop of this for each loop. Here, here it is mandatory to initialize the loop variable. Here it is mandatory to provide the termination condition. Here it is mandatory to increment and decrement the loop variable, right? And these things are not available in this case. Here you just simply need to provide this collection to for each loop, and the rest of the things, right? Whatever here happening, all these things are going to be taken care by the for each loop internally. The keyword in the for each loop is used to iterate over the collection. The keyword selects an item from the collection on each iteration and store it in the variable. On the first iteration, the first item of the collection is stored in the variable. On the second iteration, the second element is stored, and in the third iteration, the third element, and so on. The number of times the for loop will execute is equal to the number of elements that is present in the array or collection, right? So let me show you one more example, right? You can see this is having my array, right? And here I'm printing the elements. Now I want to find the maximum element, right? Maximum number. What is the maximum value that is stored inside this marks array, right? So what I can do, I have created one method for maximum. I store the first value inside this element, right? Inside this max so far variable. So first value is means 115. So by default, this max 4 is going to store 115, right? And what are the value available inside this max element? This is the value, right? Marks means these are the value that is stored inside this marks array. So by default, first element marks of 0 means this is the index position 0 that is stored inside this variable. Now, this for each loop will execute each time, right? For loop will be execute each time. So first of all, marks, right? First mark integer marks in marks. So inside marks, these elements are there. So when the loop execute for the first time, what this mark is going to store? Mark is going to store 115, right? And is this condition satisfied? Mark is 115. Mark so far is also 115.
No.
That means this condition not satisfied. So body will not execute. Second time the loop execute. What is the value it will pick? It will pick 135 and will store that value inside this mark variable. Right? Is 135 greater than this mark so far?
Yes.
Yes, the condition satisfied means this 135 will be assigned to this variable, right? So 135, that means now it will become 135. Then again the loop execute. Now what will be the value of a mark variable? 105. Condition failed, right? 105 is not greater than 135. Again, 116, again condition fail, again 122, again condition fail. So what is there in max so far variable? 135. So that will be written and that will be stored inside this highest mark, and that will be printed here, right? So you have to use the for each loop like this. See, the highest mark is 135. Clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, what is the difference between for loop and for each loop? The for loop in C# execute a statement or a block of statement as long as the given condition is true, whereas for each loop execute a statement or a block of statement for each element present in the array or collection, right? So in the case of a for loop, if the array contains 10 elements or the collection contains 10 elements, it is not guaranteed that the loop is going to execute 10 times. So the loop execution is basically not depend on the number of elements available in the collection. It depends on the condition what you specify. As long as the condition satisfy, the for loop body is going to be executed. Once the condition failed, the loop is going to be terminated. But coming to for each loop, there is no specific condition, right? There is no initialization, no termination condition. There is no increment and decrement, all these things, right? So the for each loop is going to be executed based on the number of elements available in the collection, right? If there are 100 elements available in the collection, means the loop body is going to be executed for 100 times, right? In for loop, it is possible to iterate the elements in forward and backward direction, right? Forward and backward direction. Let me show you this thing. So, right. So this is my for each. This is for each loop. Okay. So in the case of a for each loop, the accessing of element is always in the forward direction, right? Forward direction means in this direction, right? So whatever the first, second, third, right, fourth, and fifth, this is nothing but your forward direction. So in the case of a for each loop, you can only access the element using forward direction. But using for each loop, you can access the element in the forward direction or in the backward direction, right? In this case, you can see first I'm accessing the last element, then the previous last, right? And finally, I'm accessing the first element. This is the backward direction, and this is the forward direction, right? That is what I'm mentioning here. In for loop, it is possible to iterate the array elements in both forward and backward direction. For example, from index 0 to 9 and from index 9 to 0, right? Whichever option you want, you can access the element. But in for each loop, it is only possible to iterate an array in the forward direction. Backward direction is not possible. Let me put this example here. Right. Clear or any question anybody having? Guys,
No, sir.
this is clear now. What is the difference between for loop and for each loop? Right.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the last thing what we are going to discuss today is one of the important from the project point of view, right? From the project point of view means, suppose you are having an array, right? Suppose, okay, let me, right? Suppose you are having an array, right? Or you are having one list, or you are having one dictionary. Now you are having one array and you want to convert that array to a list or a dictionary, right? Even if you are having one list and you want to convert that list to a array or a dictionary, right? You are having one a dictionary and you want to convert that dictionary to array or list. Is that possible? Yes, it is possible. See, most of the time, you might be faced this scenario where you are having one array and you want to convert that array to a list, or you are having a list, you want to convert that list to a dictionary. And if you are having a dictionary, then you might be interested to convert that dictionary to an array or list. So in the case of array and in the case of a list, you are storing the data directly, right? Here you are storing the T, right? Here you are also storing the T, right, data. But in this case, what you are storing T key as well as T value. Yes or no? Guys,
Yes,
hello.
sir.
Okay. Okay, now tell me, if you are having a dictionary, can I fetch all the keys of the dictionary? All keys.
Yes.
How? By using the keys properties. Yes or no? So in the dictionary collection class, you will find the keys properties. And once you access these keys properties, it will return me all the keys. Similarly, if you want to access all values, then how you will access? By using the values property, right? Right. For example, if you go to the dictionary class, right? T-I-C-T-I-O-N-A-R-Y. Everything is wrong. D.
A generic class.
Yes. Right. This is the values property, which is going to return me all the values, and this is the keys properties, which is going to return me the keys. Right. So basically, if you want to convert to array, right, we need to use the toArray method. Right. To convert list, you have to use the toList method. Right. To convert a dictionary, right? To convert a dictionary, suppose you are having one array and you want to convert to dictionary, then you have to use the toDictionary method. How to use that is what I'm going to show you. So basically, if you are having an array and if you want to convert to list, then on that array instance, you have to call this toList method. And if you want to convert that to a dictionary, then you have to call this toDictionary method. But while calling the toDictionary method, you have to specify what is going to be your key. That means what will be going to be your key and what is going to be your value. That is what you have to specify. But in this case, this is not required, right? And if you are having one list, then also you can convert that to an array by calling this toArray method and to dictionary by calling the toDictionary method. But while you are calling the toDictionary method, you have to specify what you need to specify, what is the key and the value. Suppose you are having the dictionary and you want to convert the list, then you know in the dictionary we have two types of data. One is keys and one is value. You want to convert the keys as you want to convert all these keys to a array or list, or you want to convert the values to a array or list. Yes, I'm interested in the values. So on the dictionary object, first of all, you need to paste all the values, right? Once you paste all the values, then you need to call either toList or toArray, right? This is what we are going to discuss now, right? So this is one example, and in this example, I'm explaining everything, right? So you just need to go through the comment line. There is no theoretical documents. Everything is mentioned in the comment, right? Here you can see I'm having one employee object, 2, 3, and 3 employee object. And in each employee object, I'm having 4 properties: ID, name, gender, and the salary, right? I'm creating 3 employees. Now I'm creating an array, right? Let us create an array of size 3. So once you create the array of size 3, then by using the array index position, you can specify the 3 element like this. So this is employee 1 will be stored inside the first position of the array. Employee 2 is going to store at the second position of the array. Employee 3 is going to be stored in the third position of the array. And this 0, 1, 2, it is not pointing to the position of the element, it is pointing to the index position of the element. And we know array index is always started from 0 and it will be ended of the array. What is the size of the array? And you have to -1. So 3 minus 1 means maximum, the highest index position is going to be 2, right? So you have created this array. Now let us try to convert this array to a list and to a dictionary, right? If you want to convert this array to a list, then what you need to do? You need to call the toList method. And this toList method is available in a different namespace called system.linQ, right? So what you need to use, you have to call the toList method on the array instance to convert an array to a list. In this case, I'm calling this toList method. So what this toList method is going to return me list of T. And here what is T? T is going to be employee. So I can store that list of employees inside my list of employee variable. So any question of this statement? How I am converting this array to a list? Guys?
No, sir.
Clear? Okay. So this is how you have to convert if you are having one array, how you will convert to list, right? Now, see, suppose you are having the list, right? This is your list, and now you want to convert this list to an array, right? Then what you need to do? If you are having one list and if you have to convert to an array, then which method you need to invoke?
To array.
To arrays. So whenever you are trying to convert a collection to array means you have to invoke the to array method. If you want to convert one collection to list means you have to call the to list method. If you want to convert one collection to dictionary means you have to call the dictionary method. And while you are calling the dictionary method, it is important to specify the key and the value type, right? In this case, in this case, a to array to list, no need to specify. Why? Because they are not going to store any kind of a case. Whatever value you have to store. So no need to specify anything. But while you are converting to dictionary, it is required because you have to specify. By default, he cannot understand. He cannot decide what is going to be the key that you have to specify. Suppose you are having one collection. If you are having one list, this is your list, and you want to convert one array. So you have to convert like this, right? So you have to call the to array method and you have to store that inside an variable of type array, right? Now, this is your list of employees, right? Now you want to convert this list of employees to a dictionary. So this is list of employee. In employee, you are having this data. You are having a collection of this. If you want to convert this list of employees to a dictionary, then as I mentioned, right, which method I need to call?
To dictionary.
To dictionary. And while calling the to dictionary method, two things we need to specify. What are the things? What will be the key of your dictionary and what will be the value of your dictionary? Now you just tell me, we are having this information. What I need to make the key? Do I need to make ID as the key, name as the key, gender as the key, and salary as the key? Any property you want, you can make that as the key. Okay, as per your knowledge, as per your experience, which column is going to be unique? Because key means it should be unique, right? So can I make name as the key?
No.
No.
Can I make gender as the key?
No.
Can I make salary as the key?
No.
Can I make ID as the key?
Yes.
Because it is the value which is going to be unique for each employee, right? So blindly, you cannot decide which column is going to be the key. You have to decide by taking the example, right? Which column is going to hold the unique value. That column you need to make as the key, right? So in this case, you can see I'm calling this to dictionary method, right? Then I'm specifying from this employee, right? From this employee. So dictionary method means array of employees. This employee array means this array having many employees for, and this body what predicate we are specifying, it will execute for each employee, right? For each employee, please make ID property as the key, and in the value, store the value as it is, right? Suppose you are not interested, you are not interested to store whole employee data. You are only interested to create a collection, right? Create a dictionary by specifying the ID and name. You want to make this ID as the key and you want to make this name as the value. Is that possible? Yes, it is possible. Okay, you just tell me what are the changes I need to do. First of all, tell me the dictionary is going to be, right? The dictionary is going to be int employee or int string?
String.
String, because I want to store the name. Name means it should be a string. So int string. Then ID, I want to make the ID as the key. That is fine. Then what I need to make the value?
Employee
Name.
Name property. So you have to call this name property, right? So if you want, see in this case, the ID, whatever is there inside this employees collection, that is going to be my key. And whatever name that is associated with that ID is going to be the value, right? And that you have to specify here. You cannot specify employee here. If you specify employee, then whole object you need to pass. If you specify any string value, so any string information you need to pass. Clear? Guys, how to convert a list to dictionary?
Yes. So one doubt here, like suppose if we convert the existing array or existing whatever list or dictionary to the new type, then the address of those things will be the same. Will it be the same in the
So
database?
can you repeat once more? What is the address you were talking about?
Yeah. Suppose we are converting array to list. Okay.
Array to list.
Yeah.
Not array to list, right? Array to list means this one. So this is my array, and here I'm converting that array to list.
Yeah. So the address is going to be same, or
Whose address you are talking about?
so you are creating a new variable as list and you are
In
storing
this case, this is a new variable, right?
okay. So you are
And
creating
in
a
this
new
case,
list
it's a new
altogether.
variable altogether.
Okay.
Right? Definitely the address is going to be same. Sorry, different. We are not assigning this to this variable. We are creating a new list by calling this toList method. Both are not going to be same. Both are going to be different. Later, if you want, you can add a more element to this collection, right? In this case, suppose I'm going to add one more collection, right? This is also possible, right? I'm going to create another element, right? I'm going to create employee 4, right? I'm going to create employee 4 and I can add employee 4 in this case also. If both are going to be pointing to the same, that means whatever I'm adding, that should reflect here also, but it will not reflect because both are having different memory location. First of all, it's a array and it's a collection. How they can point to both? Right? So they cannot point. Suppose you are creating one variable of integer type and you are creating a variable of string type. Do you think that both the variable pointing to the same memory location? First of all, the size is going to be different, right? The type of data they are storing going to be different. Then how they can point to the same memory location, right? Only scenario when they are pointing to the same memory location if they are type compatible. Type compatible means if they are having same type of values, then only they can pointing to the same memory location. Otherwise, different memory location. But in this case, it is going to be purely a new collection, right? So if you go to the toList method, then what it is returning, not to lookup. See what it is saying, create a generic list. So whenever it is saying create a generic list means it is going to create a new list, right? From an IEnumerable, right? From an IEnumerable means if anything which implement IEnumerable interface, from that it is creating a generic list. That is creating a generic list means what? It's a new list altogether. Clear?
Yes.
Right? So let me comment this one. This is not required. Where we convert this collection to a dictionary, right? And we have seen we have two options, right? Okay, so we have discussed this one, how to convert list to array, right? And we have also discussed this one, list of employees to dictionary, right? Right? If you are having a list of employees, right, then you can convert that ID and the name and you can store it as it is, right? Control C, right? So here I have to make this as like this, dictionary employees 2, right? So in this case, you have to specify like this, right? So if you are having a list, right? If you want to convert that to a dictionary, right? Then you have to call the toDictionary method. And while calling the toDictionary method, what you want as the key, that will be specified using the first parameter, and what you want the value that you need to specify as the second parameter. If you want the employee object itself as the value, then you just need to use employee object like this. And if you want any properties of the employee object as the value, and like string or salary integer, then you have to specify that particular property. And you know how to access the element of the dictionary by using the key value pair. You can access the element, right? Clear? And if you want to convert an array to dictionary, then you can do the same thing. On the array, you have to call the dictionary object, right? Dictionary method, and you have to specify the ID. I mean, you have to specify the key, and again, you have to specify the value for that dictionary. Even you can also do the same thing here also, right? So here, you also, if you want to create a dictionary by taking the int and string as the value, and you want that in the value property, I want to store the name, then that is also possible, right? And you know how to access the element of a dictionary, right? Right, that is fine. Now you have this dictionary employees. So from the array, right? So dictionary employees from the array means this is a dictionary, and this dictionary of which type? So this dictionary of employees array, it is nothing but of this type, right? So if you understand this dictionary from array means it is a dictionary which is storing what data? The ID, the key is going to be ID and value is going to be employee. And when I access this values properties, right? When I access this values properties, what this property is going to return me? It is going to return these values, employee values. Yes or no? Guys?
Yes. Yes.
And you just need to call this to-array method, and that to-array method will convert to list to an array of employees, right? So this is the simple things. You just need to call the to-array method on the values properties. And if you want to create an array of keys, then what you need to use? Can anybody tell me? If I
Dot
want to create
keys.
an array based on the keys, right? Then what? Then the type of the array is going to be what?
Integer.
Integer.
And what changes you need to do here? Instead of values, you need to call the keys,
Keys.
right? So suppose you are having this array also, right? And I want to create an array of values, right? If I want to create an array of values, right? Then what are the changes? Can anybody tell me? In
It
this
is
case, in this case, this array is of which type?
string.
Needs to string type, right? You just need to pass string array. That's it. So, okay, in this case, you have to call this this array, right? So you have to use like this. Is that clear? Right? And instead of array, right, here you are converting the dictionary to array. And if I ask you to convert this dictionary to a list, then which method you need to call?
To list.
To list method. That is what I'm showing here. You have to call the to list method. Clear? Right? If you want to convert the keys to list, then you have to access the keys properties. And if you want to access create a collection based on the values, then you need to access the values properties. Right? This is how you need to work with. This is how you can convert one type of data, right? One collection type to other collection type. But only possible when your collection implement the enumerable interface, right? Any question from anyone in about today's session? Guys? Any question?
No, sir.
Okay.
Just one note. So like either we can convert our value to array, or we can convert our keys to array. Both will not be placed in single array. No?
How? So you just tell me you are creating an integer array. In that integer array, can you store both integer and string values?
No, no, we cannot. That is what like we can either store. If we want keys, we can extract keys and convert to array, or we can extract values or store.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So this is the reason. If I want to store both the values, key and values, then why I'm going to convert that dictionary to an array, right? That dictionary is there to store both things. Na? If I want both things, then I do not need to convert. I am converting because I do not want any of the value. I do not want keys. I only want values. This is the reason why I'm converting that dictionary to a value or to a list or to an array. Understand, na, Bhargav?
Yes, yes.
Okay, guys, that's it for today. And we are having 2 more classes, right? So in this
That's
weekend,
it for today. Se acabó. Sí, acabo de decir that's it for today. Así que.
so in this,
Pero que yo fueron 1:30.
Sí, es que normalmente.
so in this weekend, we are going to complete our collection framework. And then we are going to start from Monday, most probably from Monday, we are going to start the most important concept, right? Asynchronous programming and parallel programming, right? These two informations, these two chapters are very, very important, right? Please try to attend the sessions because if you miss, then you miss, right? So positively attend the classes because these are important things, right? Right. So because if you miss the advanced concept, then it is going to be a loss for you only, right? Okay, thank you for attending today's session.
Thank you.